What you're seeing is actual footage from when I rolled my ankle late evening yesterday during training. And if you just listen to that sound, this crisp, crunchy sound, right? Pretty scary. Pretty scary. It's been nearly 24 hours since I suffered this injury. So I literally rolled my ankle and took my form and all the years of training for granted. I've done this move thousands of times in my life. I didn't really warm up. I just started executing the moves at probably 50-60% effort, meaning full throttle, right? Of that full throttle, 50-60% effort. And as I heard, as my ankle rolled, and I heard like, it almost seemed like a tear, but then it also seemed like a hyperextension. But then it just came down to the good old ankle sprain. And so I tested myself afterwards, right after that injury. I sat there for a little bit, but then I got up. I started walking on it to just rule out any worst case scenarios. And I ended up training for another 40 minutes after that. I'm going to do a separate video on how that training went, because it actually covers a lot of good mobility, stretching, athletic elasticity that I talk about. Just being able to move, being mobile, right? Agile, light on your feet. I talk about all these things. And yesterday, and the funny story is I also ordered Indian food. And I don't really eat Indian food, but I had a craving for Indian food yesterday. So I ordered it 15-20 miles from my actual address, from where I live. And I couldn't cancel the order on DoorDash, so I still had to drive all the way out downtown Las Vegas. What a great problem to have, right? Here I am. I call this Indian store and say, hey, can you cancel the order? You really can't do it. You have to do it through your app. I said, F it, I'm just going to drive down. And made me drive through the strip and through all the lights and bright lights, city lights and whatnot, and get there. And I had to pause for a little bit. I'm like, things are moving way too fast. I was in California wanting to come here. Now that I'm here, I'm complaining about driving like 15 miles to pick up good, fresh Indian food, right? And all this while, I haven't iced my ankle. I've totally lost track that I've actually have a possibly sprained ankle. And, someone at my age, I'm 49, you have to be careful of these kinds of injuries, of fracturing, of spraining and straining, right? I've also had hernia surgery, mass repair on both sides, been nearly 4 years now. And so, like I said, I'm able to mostly do a lot of the athletic feats that I've done in my 20s and 30s and so forth, even my 40s, which are almost behind me now. But yesterday evening was a reminder that to not take the basic movements for granted. And if you look at the injury, my feet literally went on the side and rolled, right? It just went like that. And the shoes, it probably was the wrong shoes anyway, now that I look at my shoes, because it's got like thick soles, good for running, but not necessarily a lateral movement where that thing twisted and had a little spring on it, so it just exaggerated my fall and the rollover. But now that I know that this is a possibility of this injury recurring, I have to get a different kind of shoes when I'm especially doing martial arts, and specifically Brazil Capoeira, which exactly that's what I was doing. And I was supposed to compete in a dance battle tonight downtown, the Arts District, downtown Las Vegas. Once a month, they have this event called First Fridays. So I'm going to miss it. And that's actually one of the first videos I did on this channel was my dance battle at First Fridays in 2022. So it's been nearly 3 years, since I entered that dance battle. Tonight was supposed to be my comeback, right? But this was a warning for me to not take these movements for granted, right? Because I've done the flexibility and the advanced level that I'm sort of at in my life in terms of training and acquiring all the skills over my lifetime, and now putting into application. Honestly, yesterday kind of was an off day for me. So I kind of forced myself to go to the park. I forced myself to get out. Once again, I wasn't thinking straight and I wasn't fully present. I have some other personal things going on in my life, right? career changes, looking for a new job. The job market is very tough right now, right? I'm in tech, finance, banking. And so it's just, I was very distracted. And I'm like, I haven't trained for the dance. I'm like, but I don't need to really train because I'm always ready. Yesterday proved that I wasn't ready, right? So this same thing, if I exerted myself in the height of the moment, right? 100% adrenaline with the people there in the crowd, right? This injury could have been really worse. And it just kind of goes to show that even though I do all this sprinting and walking and squats and lifting, the functional training is something you cannot take for granted, meaning that you have to mimic almost what you do in real life, but in your practices. So we took look at the sports analogy: UFC, soccer, basketball, football, hockey, right? Gymnastics, so forth. All kinds of sports is you have to put in time and the muscle memory, the reps and the work in practices. Your practices is where your championships are won. And I know this very well. And I just took it for granted yesterday, thinking that I'm just going to show up and it's just going to happen. The honest feedback here, note to self, is I haven't really practiced like this. This is the first time I'm practicing in months. So all the, Brazil capoeira is a very agile martial arts that twists and contours, makes you contour your body and control and manage your adrenaline and your stamina. It's very taxing for your cardiovascular system. And so you have to kind of watch. And a lot of people in this art, they compromise form. Very, very easy to compromise form and try to overcompensate in other areas. And this type of a martial art actually exposes. I don't usually use this for fighting necessarily. I never do. This is more for obviously showcasing, but just for myself, is how can I keep myself there for a long time, right? And this art exposes it, like you saw yesterday. It literally was me not placing my foot a little bit wider to protect my heel or my feet from rolling over. This movement is, I think it's called Amarda Inversa. Amarda Inversa. So it's like the front kick, but now you're stepping inversely and rotating. So essentially, my kick wasn't placed outside, way out the frame, so I could whip over. It was too. I didn't give myself enough distance to curve my kick over, and so I compensated and I rolled my ankle with the speed. If any of that made sense to you, if you're a capoeiristas out there, if you know, you know. What it taught me is that just like that, I went down. Boom. I just never thought that's how my day would end up. In perspective and retrospect, it could have been a lot worse, but it also depicts and symbolizes how delicate life is and how delicate our health is, how delicate our day-to-day is. I had a little bit of anxiety on that moment there. And so when my ankle rolled, I immediately fell with it right there, because I've been in this sport for decades, 2 or 3 decades, off and on, off and on, off and on. The foundational work has been done. I have a great framework to move this way. I just don't do enough practice work. So now I'm locked in to do a lot of repetition on my ankles and the forms, moving, because my body has not been put through these reps as of these last year. I haven't done enough reps. I might actually go into a capoeira school just so I can hold myself accountable. But it was very concerning, I came back home and iced it. I've iced it through the day. In fact, I was able to walk still relatively all right. I woke up this morning limping, very stiff, and I was expecting it to be really swelled up this morning, but it didn't get any bigger than what you saw earlier in the video, in the picture. And right now, as we speak, it hasn't gotten any bigger, any worse. There's no blue color, nothing like that. It's not black. That would be a severe sign that something else is going on, right? I don't feel like I tore anything or broke any bone. Doesn't feel like that. There's no poking. There's no throbbing pain. It's literally stiff, and I can feel itself trying to loosen up now. So it's been nearly 24 hours since I suffered this injury, and I've been walking my dog today. I gave her the walks, So for a moment there, I thought this injury is going to take a few weeks for me to recover from, and I would have to deal with it. What choice do I have, right? Like, be upset, I'm kicking myself. I should have taken it a little bit easier and worked my ankles up. This is where warming up becomes a lot more critical in anything that we do. And if you've been on my channel for a bit, or if you've scoured through my work, I'm pretty active in terms of sprinting, my workouts, right? And martial arts is something I take for granted, is because I've done it my whole life, and I just think my body is just going to show up and execute these moves, and it does 90% of the time. Yesterday, I just compromised my form, and I should have known better to how to place my feet. Honestly, I wasn't really concentrating much. I was so distracted. Doing these moves, which are advanced to quite an extent. And even at this age, you don't see guys my age doing all this stuff. And so I slipped. That's accountability. I slipped. I messed up. And I'm owning it. I'm telling the story, but I also want to put it out there that, now I went from complaining about that, what a bad day I was having yesterday, to now completely blindsided and now focused on the injury. All of a sudden, I can't walk. All of a sudden, I can sprint. All of a sudden, I can walk incline. All of a sudden, it hurts to put weight down. I'm talking about the last few hours, right? When I look at my left foot, it's almost like a size and a half more bigger than my right. But the good news is I've been icing it. The swelling is going down. The stiffness is beginning to subside. It's going to take another day or so for it to get back to, I would say, 80-90% normalcy. Fingers crossed that it's nothing worse, but this is just a demonstration on how important mobility is to your life, how important stretching is to your daily life, right? Because something can happen like this and your body is not prepared to take that on, and you snap something. And I just found this out, and I decided to record it. Thank goodness I was recording my routine, and I captured this on camera so I could talk about it. Now I have content, right? I can shift and pivot on these talking points. And I'm not a sports medicine doctor. I'm not a doctor. Not nothing like that. I am speaking from practical experience and how I am going about in dealing with this. So note to myself is, do a better job of not taking all your years of martial arts training for granted. Put in the reps, put in the work, right? Get your body moving again in those, stressing it in different ways, because we can weight train, we can sprint, we can walk. Those are great. I mean, if you're doing that, you're winning in life. But I just have a different lifestyle. I'm very active, and martial arts has been the staple of my life, right? So if I'm going to be putting that much effort in my body, obviously I'm not putting in the reps anymore, because now my body is saying, hey, you haven't done this for a while. It's been a few months and you're exerting yourself, and we're just going to have you take a break. And yesterday, my body said no. And I'm pretty confident I'll make a speedy recovery and enter the dance battle in June. 1 month gives me plenty of time to get my act together. And I now have this revived passion and rejuvenated fire to enter the circle, the dragon sphere and the circle of fire, and really apply myself. So sometimes injuries are a setback, but also a reminder. And it probably happened for a reason, right? And the reason was that you'd rather eat your loss today than eating that humble pie in public. Because First Fridays is a big event, guys. Vegas is a small city, relatively, when you put it like that. There's a microscope everywhere. There's like cameras everywhere. And this would have been captured all over the internet if I fell like that and tore it or sprained it right there. I think that this could have been a lot worse yesterday. 1, 2, it could have even been more worse on the night off tonight. the day of the dance battle. You just can't take these things for granted, even though you have this experience that I have. And be sure to look at my playlists. I have martial arts in there as well. With that extensive experience doesn't mean it's going to continue. My body is going to continue to be this way later in life. The only way it can actually, but I just haven't been practicing enough of these movements lately. And if I haven't been doing this lately, and it's not 2022 anymore, it's 2025. It's been about 3 years since I went into high level competition there, and I'm looking to go full throttle and shift the gear and go at it tonight. Nah, it's not going to happen. What you're seeing, actually, I'm posting up the footage of 2022 when I actually was in that battle. It's on my Instagram as well, with the full unedited version where you can listen to the crowd and really be a part of that, right? It's over really quick. I think each dancer gets like 30 seconds each to display your best moves and friendly battle, and that's it. It's a lot of fun. But the greatest gratification I have is not so much winning anything these days. It's showing up, right? So I would have shown up yesterday with the least best version of myself. For most guys, again, most men my age, this is premium. This is a premium life. Martial arts is not necessary. Gymnastics is not necessary. But this is something I've done my entire life. So it was, again, note to self that I'm just thankful I can walk and I can still get my 10,000 steps. In fact, I'm almost at 10,000 steps today. And I'm pretty confident this is going to make a full recovery here in the next few days. I'll probably get back to 90% normal here. And then I'm going to slowly ease myself into these movements again. Doesn't mean it's over. It just means I have to be more conscious and focused on my training and application principles. Okay? I'm going to post the rest of the training video as part of a mobility stretching routines and talk through this. Maybe you do a part 2 because I have the rest of the footage there. So until the next video, guys, thanks for being a part of this story and channel. And take care of yourselves. Until the next video, Mamba out.